a primary vision over here to be a pivotal point in your journey for a B school application. Tonight, we've got two amazing speakers with us today. I am shortly going to hand over the mic to them to introduce themselves. We bring a very senior consultant to you tonight for any insights that you want to gather from M7, INSEAD, LBS, any top 10 business school that crosses your mind or you're trying to apply to. And we've got Pooja, who's a successful applicant at INSEAD. She's going to be introducing herself shortly, and she has some amazing stories to share with you tonight. How the session is going to go, the first 20-25 minutes, we're going to be tackling the most pressing questions that we've received from our applicants and as aspirants who want to work with MBA and beyond. So they've shared some of the questions that we really want to address in today's session. And the last 25 to 30 minutes are all yours. So if there are any questions that are popping up in your head, please feel free to drop them in the chat section here, or feel free to raise your hands, because we really appreciate an interactive session and we'd like to ask you guys to unmute yourself and maybe go on camera if you're comfortable. And thereon, we'd love to answer your questions one-on-one. I think we are ready to start. Without much ado, without wasting any time, let's start with Gustavo. You help us introduce yourself, help the audience know where do you come from and what do you bring to the table tonight. You are, sorry, Gustavo, you're on mute. That happens with all the best. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Gustavo, Senior Admissions Consultant. I have been working for almost 25, 30 years in the corporate world, in finance, in multinational companies, mainly in the oil and gas and mining industries, in the US, in Canada, in Southeast Asia, Latin America, as financial reporting manager, CFO, across different regions. So I've also, during this career, I've been able to learn a lot from others, from different functions, leading cross-functional teams, virtual teams, giving and taking, basically. And in 2010, I was also selected by ExxonMobil to pursue an executive management development program at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And that was really an amazing experience. And, what started as a hobby during many years, helping some colleagues, co-workers, to prepare their MBA applications to be accepted by top MBA programs, was later on growing and growing. And, I developed this I would say expertise to help applicants get accepted by top tier schools in the US and Europe. And I'm very, very excited to share with you some learnings and some tips.
Thanks a lot, Gustavo. And so they say that CFO is the most important person in any company, in any organization. I feel that you've been playing that role even at MBA and beyond when you do that with applicants, how you have been helping them pivot their stories, align with what the schools are expecting, and how you can best position candidates. So guys, especially if you're coming from, finance background, have an aspiration, if you've got any specific questions tonight, feel free to drop them in the chat. Ask Gustavo if there are any aspirations which are leading to, let's say, PE, VC firms, any specific school-related questions. When it comes to that, we are happy to answer them. Thanks, Gustavo.
Yes, let me just tell you that, during these years, I've also been able to not only coach, I would say, professionals to apply from a finance background, to apply to M7 and top tier schools, but also professionals from complete different backgrounds, from marketing, from tech, from the startup world, from entrepreneurs. So, a wide array of students, of applicants. So that's really important to mention. Thank you.
Thanks, Gustavo. Over to you, Pooja. Really excited to hear about your story at length. And I'm sure like our audience here tonight is keen on knowing who you are. How did you make it to INSEAD? Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Paridhi. And I'm really, really excited to be here. So I'll start with my introduction in the same way as a lot of candidates would be very keen to know how a profile of a INSEAD admit looks like. So as if you just have any relevant questions, please shoot in the session. So my name is Pooja Mittal. I come from India. I'm from Rajasthan in India, and I grew up in India, and then I did my chemical engineering from IIT BHU back in 2015. And after finishing my engineering, I joined Unilever through campus placement as the future leadership trainee. I've been working with Unilever from almost last 8 years in supply chain, and I have a lot of diverse experience. So I worked till 2021 in India with Unilever in different geographies, and after 2020 and in 2021 I moved to Netherlands to explore the global supply chain as global supply chain manager for our foods category. I'll not go into the detail of my each and specific role, but if you have any questions around that during the session, please feel free to ask. And after working for 8 years, I really wanted to develop my business side as well, because I come from an engineering background. I wanted to also explore entrepreneurship after MBA. So I decided to apply for NCR because it was very nicely fitting with my long-term goals. And I have a 630 GMAT score, and thanks to MBA and beyond, that helped me to make it happen to get into NCR with this score. So we'll talk about it more later to give you more insights on how does the profile helps in getting admitted to a B school. And right now I'm really very keen on preparing for the B school, very excited. I've left my job, so right now I'm back to India with my family, but very, very excited to join and start the session in January, and very, very excited to be here and talk to all of you and answer any questions that you have in whatever stage of your application you are. So please, as Paridhi also mentioned, please ensure this session is very interactive. So shoot your questions as much as you want.
Thanks a lot, Pooja. So I would also like to say that Pooja's admit to INSEAD at that score is also the biggest win for MBA and beyond to date. So she brings in a lot of value to MBA and beyond and to you guys tonight, and also as a profile expert. So just to help you understand how the cycle of MBA and beyond works, today, if you're an applicant at MBA and beyond, tomorrow you get an admit, day after tomorrow you become a profile expert with MBA and beyond. By the time you graduate, you get an option to choose to become a mentor or a consultant with MBA and beyond. So it's an inclusive, capital inclusive model that we've built here, where we believe that it's the alums and the students that should be driving the industry forward and helping candidates via the right mentorship to get candidates into some of the top business schools. So one of the questions, I don't know, Pooja, if you encountered this question, but I was just talking to this friend who was interviewing for INSEADers, future INSEADers joining in, and I think INSEAD asks you this question as an interviewer: would you go to school again with this candidate if you were given a choice? And basically that's what you would say, whether, let's say if I'm interviewing Pooja, I just have to say a yes and a no, and that matters a lot in your application interview for any business school.
Yes, absolutely. And I think for me, Paridhi, so this is very, very important for those who want to apply and then prepare for the interview, of course. And I got this tip from Shantanu. And if people in the chat do not know me, he's the co-founder along with Paridhi for MBA and Beyond. And he's also an INSEAD alum. So he really helped me to prepare for the interview. And the tip he gave me is that what Paridhi mentioned. That's what the question that the B school INSEAD asked the interviewers, that would you like to go to the INSEAD again with this person? And that really, really helps you to prepare for your interview, because a lot of time you just focus on your professional background. You think that's what all matters, but no, you as a whole personality matters. Just think about this, that would anyone of you would like to go back to a person who is just focused on the work but does not bring anything else on the table? Like, you cannot learn any new skill from that person, or you cannot have a proper conversation, or you cannot do a team building activity. Definitely not. So in the interviews, this really really matters, that what as an overall personality you bring in. And that's where this question really really helps you to build your thought process. So only after I got this tip, that's when I literally started including my personal stuffs as well, my personal skills, personal development as well, which I know only I bring to the table and can add a lot of value to others life. And that's why the interviewer would love to go back to INSEAD with me. So absolutely right, Pariti, that's a very very important and very very great question that INSEAD asked. And it's very very important for the aspirants to know that this is what we need to go there and tell people. We're more than just our jobs.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, both of you, for that kind and beautiful introduction. And I can already see some questions are popping up. Shilpa, I'd like you to hold on another few minutes, maybe 15 to 20 maximum, and then we are going to jump on to all the questions. So one of the first questions that we've received from our applicants is, are there any strategic advantages or disadvantages to applying to M7 or INSEAD in different rounds? And how should applicants make informed decisions about it? So, Pooja, Gustavo, your inputs will be very, very valuable here. Whatever you think, let's help our candidates understand. Gustavo, do you want to start?
Okay, yes. Well, definitely, I would recommend, well, first, the main thing is to get to a point where we have a very strong application package, okay? So we need to be sure that we went through all the stages in the application process, okay? From self-reflection exercise, okay, to better understand goals, okay, short-term, long-term goals, post-MBA, you know, main reasons as to why to pursue an MBA, why now, you know, main skills, main strengths and accomplishments, all of that. So once we come up to a very strong application package, the first decision would be, okay, if we are able to make it for round one, that would be the first choice. Why? Because usually the best opportunities to get scholarship would be in round one compared to round two. Round two, there are also good opportunities for scholarship, but slightly lower compared with round one. There are, you know, the budget is being used up, you know, as time goes by. So main thing is having first the strong application package, try to target round one. If we can make it and we feel 100% comfortable, okay, and confident applying round one. If not, applying to everything to apply round two, okay, with the same premises, okay? I don't know whether that answers all the questions or whether it was a twofold question or not.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good start, Gustavo. I'd like to chime in, add a few things. Maybe before that, Pooja, do you want to add a few things?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Gustavo. So when it comes to the selection, I do not see there is any difference when that you have more chances of selection in the first round, but less in the second or a third round or so. But so just I want to highlight this, because if you should not also go unprepared, that oh, because we want to grab round one, so you're just going for it. If you're not prepared, then you're not going to make in any of the rounds, be it one or four. So make sure you're prepared. But in terms of selection, doesn't make a difference. But if speaking of specifically for INSEAD, round four doesn't offer scholarship. Scholarships are available only for round one to round three. And second thing is, a lot of stuff starts happening once you get into the B school. So I can see I'm a round two applicant, and there are so many things like your interactions with your future colleagues and future batchmates, your so many events they start happening. And to just kind of warm up to that and take care of everything, when you apply in initial rounds, you get a better head start. Of course, people do that in the round four as well, but just applying to an earlier round gives you that benefit that you are a little ahead in terms of interaction from your future batchmates.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. when it comes to scholarships and the earlier rounds, I mean, they all go hand in hand. I just like to add that while, of course, round 1 and round 2 is the preferred choice and is something that we as consultants and we as mentors also nudge all our applicants to apply to. But if you know your candidacy is starkly different and unique, let's say if you're an Indian or a US Army or a Navy veteran coming and making an application, or let's say you've been a fashion model working in the sustainable clothing industry, something like that, that's starkly unique. You are welcome to apply to any further rounds as well. However, be mindful of your candidacy, of the geography that you're coming from, or the pool that you belong to. So if you belong to an overrepresented pool, then round 1 and round 2 are the best choice. If you've not been able to make it this year and you're underprepared for some reason, we also advise our candidates to start exploring Jan intake, where the deadlines are going to be somewhere in February and March next year. And if that also does not come through, to be honest, candidates who sometimes join us for round 2, they also apply to a couple of schools in round 1 and early action next year if they are not able to get the best score possible in time. So what you need to be water, my friend, while exploring at the same time. Be prepared with the material you need that Gustavo talked about. I'd love to share my screen towards the end when we start maybe like closing on these questions. You need to answer some very deep questions about your life. You need to bring out your personality. You need to figure out your goals, your strengths, your weaknesses, stuff like that. And that takes time. Without a perspective of, hey, I'm applying to INSEAD, I need this score. But you also need a lot more than that. While we understand that you need a score, you need a good GPA, you need a good resume, but schools are looking for a person. And you have to bring it out in your application, which is going to have the heaviest weight on anything, any material that you're going to put together. So yeah, that's how I would close on this. Second question to Pooja and Gustavo again. Can you elaborate on typical timelines? Again, since we talked about introspection and storytelling and all of this, can you elaborate on a typical timeline an applicant should follow for M7 and INSEAD application, including any milestones, if you can talk about, or any deadlines that you want to discuss?
Okay. So, well, usually for M7, round 1's deadlines are, application deadlines are usually in September, okay? Early September, end of September. There might be some other schools in the US, not necessarily M7, that are due in early October, okay? Whereas round 2 application deadlines are definitely very early in January, okay? So in terms of the process itself, the end-to-end application process, as we mentioned earlier, it is definitely, I cannot stress the importance of this self-reflection exercise that applicants should do firsthand. We have a module, after the first call with the consultant, okay, which is, well, first what we do have is an onboarding module, okay, where the applicant answers some general and specific questions about their academic, personal, and professional life, some main situations, turning points, okay. Then we do have an introductory, a first call with an admissions consultant to get to know each other much better and revisit that information on the onboarding module. Then, as we mentioned, the applicant is prompted to devote meaningful time for self-reflection and to answer key questions that would give both the applicant and the consultant key information about great experiences, situations in the past, about his or her, the applicants, experiences in her personal life, in his or her academic journey or professional journey, okay, that may have significantly influenced who the applicant is now, who he or she is as a person and as a professional. Also, to showcase key strengths, achievements, or accomplishments. And we usually utilize a standard approach, which is called, I would say, a specific and tailor-made approach called STAR, situation, develop these accomplishments by using this approach: situation, task, action, result, and to measure to what, to a great extent, to provide a measure or a metric of the accomplishment itself, the tangible impact. Also to showcase some weak points, everyone has weaknesses. So it's critical to better understand them, because we will need to fill in some gaps, and that's why the MBA, okay, that's one of the reasons. And also to understand some failure situations in the professional experience of the applicant, and more importantly, what did the applicant learn about these failure situations going forward, to prevent these situations from happening in the future, to better dive in deeply in terms of what would be the short-term, long-term career and personal goals post-MBA, to better understand their motivations, what is more unique of them in terms of, yes, their motivations, experiences. Again, as we mentioned, the best way to achieve success in the application process is to develop a unique profile of who you are, to give your profile the most personal level possible, okay, professional and personal level possible, and that way you would stand out among other highly qualified, well-rounded candidates, That's why it's very important to have that information. That information is the foundation for you as an applicant, and for us to then start working on resume or CV, essay writing, okay? Also to help you find the best options for recommenders, for letters of recommendation, for letters of support. And if we could somehow help the recommenders through you, in terms of providing them some outlines about, to make better connections in terms of some key accomplishments you've been able to achieve along your interaction with that recommender. Okay, so making a great connection to a great extent between essays and recommendations, being communicated by the recommenders, that will be a great win, So basically essays, resume, letters of recommendation, that information from the content gathering will be able to use also for the preparation for interview. And before all of that, we will revisit content gathering with you. I mean, the consultant will revisit everything you've shared with us in content gathering. If we identify that there might be something missing, we will speak up and let you know. Okay, so after we revisit that, the admissions consultant will get back to you with what we call branding, which is a very important document in which we as consultants shape or reshape your profile, in terms of your purpose, your goals, your values, who you are, your accomplishments, okay, your strengths, and relate all of that. And that would be the foundation again for all what comes next, okay? So that's in a nutshell is the whole application process. Usually it would take, like, depending on the amount of time that you could devote, because you would be juggling, a lot of high demands from work with the admissions process, but it might take 2 months, 2 months and a half, 3 months, depending on your bandwidth,
Thanks, Gustavo. I'd just like to add, so this...
yes, school selection, yes.
Yeah.
School selection is key, and very importantly, we've come up with situations where, from the very beginning, the applicants have some idea of targeting schools, but as admissions consultant, one key part of our process, our service offering is first to better understand what your goals, accomplishments, okay, purpose, okay, what you are planning to do with your MBA, whether you are pivoting to what type of industry, all of that, and that way, and also understand your strengths, your weak points, okay, your data points in terms of GPA, GMAT score or GRE score, all of that, and understanding your goals, your interests, we would be definitely in a better position to assist you in school selection. Because the key here is you will be investing a huge amount of money, so you had better make sure that that money will definitely pay off in terms of the return on investment and in terms of you will be satisfied with what you achieve after the MBA. So having said that, we will be in a better position to better match your goals with the best MBA programs that will be a great fit with your goals. And also, okay, this is our job, to let you know whether your profile is the best fit, okay, and to what extent this is a great fit with what M7 or other top schools are looking for. And depending on that, we would suggest X, Y, Z, or X school. And of course, last decision is from you, but we are in that, it is our responsibility, our duty to advise, to give you expert advice in terms of that, Anything you might want to add?
Absolutely. I'll just take a minute. So what I just like everyone to understand, the kind of candidate that you are purely defines the timeline that you will follow. Adding on to what Gustavo said, it is a time-consuming and a time-intensive journey for sure. The part that we all miss as applicants is step 1, step 3, step 5, and step 6. We actually start thinking essays, which from MBA and Beyond School of Thought happens much later in your journey, while school selection is a part of the candidates or journey who are unsure about it. For example, Pooja is one candidate, but there is another kind of candidate, let's say Anishka. We worked with her last year. She came with a mindset that I want to apply to top 20 schools. This is my goal. Help me figure that out. So it's a more introspective journey a consultant will take with this candidate, and it will require a lot of back and forth. While Pooja, on the other hand, with a 630, was 100% sure that I only want to apply to INSEAD. The timeline is going to be completely different for her because we only start with INSEAD as a perspective. While, of course, the price that you pay to MBA and Beyond remains the same. So whatever candidate that you are, we are happy to accommodate you with the school of thought that knowing the right school is also a journey in itself. And we should not discount the time that this will take. And this should parallelly and can parallelly happen while you're preparing or reappearing for your GMAT or GRE. Any 2 cents, Pooja, you would like to add? After that, we'll jump on to our candidates' questions. We'll tackle them a little bit, and then we'll come back to the main questions that we have.
Yeah, Preeti, thank you. I think Gustavo very well explained the whole process, and rightly so. If you guys are in the stage where you still want to explore which schools fit your long-term goal and you want external help as well, and that definitely a 3 to like anywhere between 3 to 2 months timeline is needed, because the process of introspection, even if you're very clear, like I was very clear, or you're not clear, the process of content gathering or the introspection is very intense. It doesn't change in either of the cases, and that's the thing that requires the most time, and you cannot do it in a very puzzled mind state or in a very busy burned out state. What we generally, no matter which stage you're still exploring or you're as clear as me, as Paridi mentioned, the timeline changes. However, what we generally do is we always plan our whole time that we need is basis the number of hours we have. That's what I've heard from a lot of people as well, whosoever I'm speaking to now. But I always tell them to factor one another thing, which is your mental bandwidth, not only your time bandwidth, because you cannot be burned out. You cannot think, okay, you can do a 12-hour job and then you can do other things and then you can write your application as well. You have to take breaks so as you can keep your mind fresh, so as you can keep thinking about it, keep introspecting the right direction and bring your application together. So it's always a good idea to keep that in the factor and accordingly take the timelines. I wrote my application in 24 days, so that's very different for me because I had a lot of stories in my head and I was very clear this is the school I want to go. So I had to put everything on the plate and structure it. But it's not the case every time. You do have to do a lot of job, like you have jobs also to do, you're not leaving that. So always a good idea to keep, if you're very clear in your mind where you want to go, always a good idea to have at least 1 to 1.5 months. If you're starting from scratch, always a good idea to have like at least 3 months. And if you haven't done your GMAT score, then all of course 6 months of time at least.
Absolutely. So just,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Gustavo, please.
Oh, yes, just to build on what Pooja and you have said about the process, I want to also stress the importance, and it has a logical order sequence: school research right after branding and before essays. Okay, why? Because as part of a very meaningful and in-depth school research, besides confirming that X, Y, or Z MBA program makes a great fit with the applicant's goals and objectives, okay? Definitely the applicant needs to, if he or she wants to pursue a corporate career, not an entrepreneurial one, for example, that if they want to work in, for example, investment banking, they might be interested, definitely interested in confirming that prospective employers that they are interested in working at are active, definitely active recruiters at the MBA at that specific school, and not just going, once and just that, so active recruiters, and to learn key features about these different schools they will apply to in order to communicate how greatly engaged they are with the school and with the MBA program, and more importantly, many essays from many schools ask, like, why this school, how this MBA program from this particular school will help you achieve your short-term, long-term goals. So you have better make a insightful research about the main things and specific elective classes, unique learning approaches, experiential learning, unique programs at this school that will definitely communicate how highly engaged you are with the program, and not saying vague general statements that do not make you stand out from any candidates, So that's why it comes before essays and before any other steps that come after that,
Absolutely. So I'll sum it up. If you are targeting November deadline for INSEAD and you are exactly coming with the mindset that Pooja had, you can start today, but you should start today.
Yes.
And if you're targeting Jan deadlines, which is round 2 for M7, depending on wherever you are, because I'm assuming you will not only apply to just one M7. If it's at least 3 schools, you should already be working. So it is going to take 2 to 3 months to pull off 3 good M7 applications. You can pull off more as well, but that's like a safety net. We want to give 21 to 25 days per application with a consultant and applicant working together, giving yourself enough creative bandwidth to think and to recreate or reproduce the work that you write in the first draft. It takes some redoing things as well. So give yourself that space so that your application is not rushed and it is more than 100% beautiful. Going to the questions now. While we still have some more questions, but we're being conscious of time, we want to give 25 minutes to you guys. You can drop your questions in there. Raksha is writing. So she sent me a direct message. I will take that one. Atul will coming to you afterwards. Oh, actually, we should take Shilpa's question first. So Shilpa is saying, hello there. I come from an architecture background with an experience of over 4 years, and I'm considering a pivot in career. Will an M7 or INSEAD be ambitious since I don't come from a traditional background? Also, is it too late for me to apply for 2024 intake if I haven't begun yet? Pooja, Gustavo, your thoughts are welcome.
Pucha, you want to step in now?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think okay. So I'll take the second one first. I think for 2024 intake for INSEAD, Jan intake, of course, you cannot make it. For August intake, I think we still have time for that. So I think 7th November is the second round for August intake. So you can definitely target that if you already have your GMAT score in hand. And of course, then round 3 and round 4 are there. Speaking of the traditional background, so definitely it doesn't make a difference if you're not coming from a traditional background. In fact, the more different your profile is, better it is, because NEB school, and specifically vouching for NCR, they are so heavy on diversity. I have one of my batchmates who's going to be my future batchmate, who has 3 years of work experience. He comes from a music industry. What can be more non-traditional than that? He's a drummer and he comes from a music industry and he's now doing his business. So it, in fact, the more, and you come from an architecture background, which is, of course, like, is not there, as you rightly mentioned, not very traditional. So it doesn't stop anything. In fact, you have a chance to stand out in your application. So this, in fact, can be a strength, not a weakness, for sure. So do not worry about that. You want to go for the business school, go for it. Your background is, in fact, going to help you, not stop you in any way.
Absolutely. That's, I think I would answer the same. Gustavo, do you want to add something else to this?
Well, basically, Pucha answered, I think, almost everything. But yes, in terms of INSEAD, definitely 100% answered. And also for M7, again, as Puja mentioned, it is critical that at this stage, at this point in time, you already have a good, I would say, a strong GMAT or GRE score. You know, if you go through the class profiles of these M7 schools, you know, or basically in terms of GMAT, the average would be like 730 or the median, you know, and, you know, for GRE would be in the range of, I would say, 324, 326, you know. So you should have, you know, there might be some outlier cases always, you know, but that let me say that these top schools not only consider these hard data points, you know, as well as a strong GPA from undergraduate, that eventually you could significantly mitigate a low or subpar GPA from undergraduate with a very strong GMAT or GRE score. But these are important, you know, data points in your application, especially with Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Wharton, okay, Booth, you know. But, you know, these top schools consider a wide array of factors, you know, in your profile. And as Pucha mentioned, you know, also, in my opinion, the fact that you may have a completely different, you know, or non-traditional profile puts you in a situation where we could shape your profile in the best possible way, making it very unique, you know, and driving information from your accomplishments, strengths, you know, personal experiences, okay, turning points in your life, you know, motivations, make a very compelling application and stand out from other candidates, definitely, yes.
Yeah, I think that also answered another question, Gustavo, where the candidate is asking, is it possible to get a good GMAT or GRE score for January deadlines? And somebody's asking, is it a good time if you've not even begun? So I'll just, to add to what Pooja and Gustavo said, when you say you've not even begun, I really am keen to first of all understand, have you not even begun thinking about your situation, preparing for GMAT or GRE or what it is? Because If you haven't even begun starting the preparation, for GMAT GRE, then it's very unlikely that you will meet a November deadline. Might I tell you, it takes on an average 3 months for people to pull off a desired GMAT or a GRE score that they need. So if you've not begun, either you are really smart and you have that time at hand that you can tackle both the things together, you may be able to pull off a January deadline, but November is not possible. You will not be able to pull off a GMAT or a GRE score and then write an application as well.
Yeah. Pariti, before we move to next question, I just want to help Shilpa out here. I understand she just texted on the chat. She hasn't taken the GMAT yet, but she also wants to understand if pivot in the career is considered a negative point. Definitely not. People go for business schools to pivot their career most of the time. And if you have any doubts about your profile, so you can definitely reach out to us. We can do a profile evaluation for you to help you out, and then you will get a better idea which schools you want to target, and then you can accordingly also target your GMAT score for that. So feel free to do that. I can see you're very keen on understanding these basic things, and so we will be happy to help you personally, so you can do that as well.
So just between, Pooja has actually offered if you've already done a profile evaluation and if you want to speak to somebody from NCR, Pooja is happy to have a conversation with you in this week or next week, whenever you're available. So we are going to be sending out an email to you. You can reply to that email. If you want to connect with Pooja, somebody from the team is going to put you in touch. So you're welcome to do that if you have any INSEAD specific questions. Gustavo is happy to onboard candidates for M7 as he's already working with so many. So if M7 INSEAD is on top of your mind, Gustavo is available. He has a few slots left still for round 2. January still, we still have time. A lot of candidates who are reappearing for their GMAT are working with us. For example, I see SG's question. He has a 670 GMAT. So I will just answer that one first because it goes in a sequence. I have a GMAT score 670. I have been a successful tech entrepreneur with a successful acquisition exit and was funded by Y Combinator. Wow, that's an amazing profile. One of the world's best, most prestigious fund. I moved to a role as a VP in a fintech. I have been in leadership roles in college as well. I am a computer scientist from a tier 3 government college with 5 years of experience, with 3 years of founder experience and 2 years as a vice president. I want to target INSEAD particularly. Do I stand a chance to get in? Pooja, I think that's more profile.
So yeah, now I know the entire profile, and definitely it looks really impressive at the first go. But I would, of course, definitely would want to give you a detailed review of your profile, because we also need to talk about the extracurriculars and everything. And since you're saying you're particularly want to target NCR, of course, looking at your work experience, it sounds amazing. NCR is the best school, in my opinion, for entrepreneurs. So you have already done that. So your profile fit in terms professionally very well with NCR. But yes, we should definitely also look at the other leadership activities you have done. So would definitely love to look at your overall profile and give you an opinion about it. But basis what you have shared, you can definitely target NCR, and let's take a deep look into your profile to understand what we need to bring out in your application. So I think you'll have my calendar there, and we'll block some time and talk about it. But definitely go about it. It's a very good profile.
Yeah, I mean, the profile sounds really good on the surface. Like Pooja said, I'm glad if you guys can connect, have a deeper conversation around it, and see how that goes from there. Okay, somebody sent me a direct message, so I'm just reading it out. And this is a question that a lot of candidates have, and I hope it answers all of their questions because they have GPA, GRE, GMAT. People keep asking this. Would love to understand that beyond work experience and GRE/GMAT score, how much emphasis is given to previous academic scores as part of the well-rounded application or profile? Thoughts, Pooja, Gustavo, on that?
Gustavo, you want to take it? You have more experience, I think, when it comes to M7.
Okay.
So,
okay. What does it mean? Previous academic scores. I mean, some additional, I would say, additional scores besides bachelor degrees. For example, if the applicant also pursued some master's degree or some additional degree, just to better understand the scope of the question.
Yeah, so Gustavo, I'm assuming, and this is how the question comes across, and please feel free to unmute yourself as well if you're comfortable. The question I'm assuming is that how much weightage is given to the GPAs, the percentages in college or undergrad or masters that you might have had. If that's the question, then we can tackle it in that light. It really depends. Your application has to be wholesome. And Gustavo, your inputs are much welcome after this. So they're saying that if a GPA is, let's say, low, then what do I need to do to make a Raksha? Please go ahead, unmute yourself since it's your.
Yes. So, well, if you have for example, if you have a low.
I'm sorry. Raksha is gonna repeat the question herself. She just raised. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So thank you so much for taking up the question, Gustavo. I just wanted to clarify. Yes, I meant the GPA that you get in your undergrad, as an undergrad score. So I mean the GPA that you receive. And I understand that there cannot be like one particular number which is given to it. But I just want to understand, is there a minimum limit to it? Like it should be above this, or typically you see that it is above a particular, say it's above 8 or it's above 9 or whatever the common nomenclature is used.
Okay. If you are applying to, if you were applying to N7 schools, usually I would say that according to the class profiles that they do publish, the average GPA is like 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, depending whether you are talking about Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, but there are, as we mentioned, admissions committees consider a wide array of factors, and there might be some exceptional circumstances that you might want to convey. For example, the university you studied at may be the top university in a specific country, and they might have raised the bar significantly in terms of what kind of high grades they consider they award even to top performers. So also a better understanding. I would also recommend doing a good and in-depth analysis of the transcripts, to see whether you have consistency in all the key subjects, that you have good notes, and also better understand whether even with I would say 3.0 GPA, whether you eventually graduated within the top 20% of the class, because that would say something, relatively speaking, So also, you could significantly mitigate that low GPA factor by taking a GMAT or a GRE and get a very strong score, overall score, and a good verbal score, and very importantly, a quantitative score, because this is an early predictor of success during the MBA journey. So I don't know whether that answers your question. So it is a disadvantage applying with a low GPA, considering the average of the class profile. But if there are, for example, there are some other applicants that may have got relatively speaking, a lower GPA compared with the average of the class profile, because they have, worked and studied all the years in a row, of the bachelor's degree. So that definitely took a great toll on his or her performance, But, finding different ways of mitigating that, if there are exceptional circumstances. But yes, we need to analyze that, and depending on your specific case, we might suggest that the best case would be taking some long shot with some top tier 1 schools, and probably also applying to some top schools but are not top tier 1, so that we have a good strategy of applications. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yes, very clear. Thank you so much.
No, okay, you're welcome.
Atul, do you want to unmute yourself? It'll be nice to see your faces also, guys, like we've already said.
Sure. I hope I'm visible and audible
Yes,
both.
it's nice to put a face to the voice always. So go
Hi,
ahead, Atul.
hi. Good evening to everyone. Uh, Firstly, I think in terms of the different points of view that has been shared, I would probably relate to Pooja a lot in terms of how I feel about NCR and how I've been planning my entire journey, my entire application journey towards it. Just to put things into perspective, I've personally been in touch with INSEAD for a long time. I visited the campus a few times as well. I am through with my application, to be very honest. I have done all sorts of research and everything that I could do, and I also am aware of the person that Pooja mentioned, who has 3 years of work experience and belongs from the music industry. So he's actually one of the guys who has helped me a lot in my application journey. Uh, just a little bit about myself. I come from the sports and fitness industry. I've been working as a business leader for six years now. I have done one master's previously, namely in sports management, and this would be precisely my third overall master's degree. I also have a certification in business analytics. Now, uh, like I said, INSEAD has been my dream school, and I believe that they value diversity a lot. They try to, they try to have a diverse, network within the batch. I just have a small question around the kind of work experience that they are looking for. Uh, Particularly for myself, I have worked in a couple of organizations over my period of 6 years, as opposed to certain people having probably 8 or 9 years in the same organization. So how is that viewed? And, in terms of putting my thoughts into process, how should I go about it?
Can I take this question, Paridhi? So, Atul, just want to make sure, have you already applied? Because you mentioned you're in the process of
No. I did not apply. I took my GMAT about a month ago. I did not get the score that I wanted, so I'm retaking the GMAT by the end of this month, and hopefully I should be done in time for round two. But like I said, I have worked on my entire application, so I feel I have things
okay.
into perspective. But yeah, there is still room for improvement there.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, answering the question if there is any particular kind of work ex they're looking for, no, they're not. If you look at the class profile, there are people from different backgrounds, including marketing, tech, as you yourself know, music, we finance, and I myself are from supply chain. So it's always like they welcome as much diversity as it can come, even in workex. So as you mentioned, your profile and you already have some masters and now you want to go to business, it's not going to stop you in your work experience. What it is, it's not never going to be a factor for you to not get into the B school. The quality of work that you have done, that's very important. So speaking of what you can bring out in your application, leadership, so INSEAD specifically looks for four things, which is yeah, you must have gone through it already: academic excellence, leadership potential, ability to contribute, and international exposure. So I try to bring out all these 4 points in your work experience as much
Mm-hmm.
as possible. I for myself focused a lot on my leadership potential because throughout my career I have been in managerial roles, I've been working on a leadership positions, I had teams under me. So I showed them what I can bring is my leadership potential and my ability to work in teams. So highlight those parts wherever possible, and then you're good to go. But it is definitely not anything that because you have a certain work profile, so you'll not be considered for B school. When I visited
Mm-hmm.
INSEAD, I was having a talk with the admission committee. We were like four different people coming from four different backgrounds, talking to them, and that's what they said. This is what we are looking for. We want people to come from different life
Yep.
phases of life. And if you look at the INSEAD overall structure, course structure, and everything, they want to send out the business leaders in every field possible. So
Mm-hmm.
your profile is not going to like make any difference in the sense that you'll not get in. And whatever you have, just bring out these 4 points, focus on these four, build your application around this, and bring your unique selling point, and you will be good to go. Does that answer your question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
All the
Thanks.
best.
All the best,
Thank
Atul.
you so much.
I would like to take an opportunity for this because a lot of questions are posed around how do you frame your application to best suit a respective school. It could be in CR, M7, whatever. There's a general rule of thumb that we like to go by, and which Pooja has considerably mentioned right now. You have to identify the values the school has. I'd really like to talk about it in detail, but I know we have to take up a few questions, maybe in the next session, or I'd love to have a one-on-one on that. So Pooja pointed out 4 values that NCR has. When you do your introspection, you have to identify which values do you bring to the table. Now look at it as a marriage happening between these two set of values, because it's a trade-off, like it's a negotiation, it's a deal happening between you and the school. The more values match together, the better is your candidacy for a particular school. So do not just, of course, there are multiple factors. There's visa, there's geography, there's job title, there's management consultant, you want to become product managers, fine. Look up to that, shortlist your schools, then find the values, go deeper and see where are you fitting in the most. I feel that is going to make it very easy for you to talk about yourself just beyond the paper, which is your resume. And that's what business schools are looking for. So we've got 5 minutes. We'll try to take 2 more questions. I know because we have to elaboratively talk about it, and I hope it's answering a lot of your questions, guys. Your feedback is welcome towards the end. Please drop how you feel about this session in the chat, and if there are any suggestions that you have, we can make this better. Sagar, you can unmute yourself, ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Pariti. Thank you, Pooja, also, and the rest of your team. So, this is regarding the international exposure. We hear a lot about INSEAD, looking at international exposure. So, as far as my background is concerned, I handled a lot of US and UK, basically international clients in my financial services office. And this year in June, I actually left India and I'm set up in the Middle East in Dubai, where I'm working in in a firm where obviously there is different nationalities in that office, and it's again in financial services. Now, is it my question? I have 2 questions. One is that do you think for someone who's shifted and actually living in a foreign country and working there to apply in November, or and kind of say that even though it's June to November is this short period, but I have also dealt with international clients while I was working in the Indian office? Or do you think I should postpone my application and say that I have worked these many more months in foreign land and I have also had some international clients interaction? So, I mean, that's something which is in like like something which a doubt which I have. And the other thing is that NCR have many campuses. So, do you all still support the French campus, or do you support the other campus also? Like, I mean, is there something which opens up more for you when you're in France, or compared to Singapore or whatever the other campuses which are? Thank you.
Pooja, I'll let you
Okay.
take this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can take this question. So I think I understood your confusion, Sagar, for the first question. So what's very, very important for you to decide you want to apply now or later is whether you are prepared and you want to go for a B school at the moment or not. Your international exposure months are not going to make a difference. Let me be very clear. They're not looking at how the fact that how much time you have spent, and few months here and there are not going to make difference. What they're looking for when it comes to international exposure is that have you ever had, and it's not necessary that you have been out of the country for some time or a longer time. As you mentioned, you have dealt with US clients even back in India. That's more than enough, because what they're looking for is that you have some exposure to the different culture, how well you coordinate with them, can you do some work as a team with them already or not. So if you want to apply now, do not consider that as a factor that I spend 4 or 5 more months and then I apply, I'll have a higher chance or a lesser chance. So that doesn't make a difference. So please, I would suggest take that out of the factor. If you're ready for applying for NCR now in November, go for it. You don't need to spend another few months to build your application. It's not going to add any value to it, much value to it. So your whatever international exposure you have till today, just ensure you bring that out very nicely in your application. Answering your second question, Singapore or versus France campus. So in terms of opportunities, no, definitely no. Both of the campuses have equal opportunities, equal diversity, really great events happening at the campus, strong engagement and everything. The only thing that matters is where you want to work after your B school, after your MBA. So if you want to work in Singapore, it's always a good idea to end your MBA in Singapore. And if you want to work in Europe, it's a good idea to end your final periods in France. And also NCR has exchange. So their whole course, if you look at the whole course structure, in the middle of your session, they have 5 periods, each spread over 2 months. And from 3rd period onwards, you do get a chance for campus exchange as well. So you can go to another campus, get some experience there, come back or stay there. So you can make that choice. So in terms of opportunity, both the campuses are same. Just choose where you want to be basis what your post MBA goals are. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, just one last thing. Is it okay if I take the LOR from my June Dubai employer, or is it not okay? I need someone who's been with me for more than a year for the LOR.
Oh, yeah, sure, definitely. You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining in today. And I know there are some questions still sitting unanswered. No matter how hard we try, we are always not able to cater to all the questions, but you're welcome to drop your questions in the email that I'll share with you. And I'm happy to make time to speak to you over the weekend. Each and every one of you wants to have a conversation, and Pooja has also offered for that. It was a very insightful and lovely session, Pooja and Gustavo. I myself always get to learn a lot from you folks. Thanks for joining, and thanks for bringing all the lovely learnings today. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. And thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for asking the questions and joining.
Yes.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice
Thank you,
evening.
everyone. Thank you.